yards, switching toward the outside. Roderick is there in second between that pair. Roderick now gets right alongside of Quick Tempo, highly motivated, still 2 lengths away, but coming from the outside. Final furlong of the Nyquist, highly motivated, just striding forward to take the lead for Javier Castellano. It is highly motivated who will take the opener. Quick Tempo hung on.
Welcome back to another Kentucky Derby profile here on the Racing Rundown. I'm Eric DeCoster. In this edition, we will be talking about Chad Brown's highly motivated, certainly, I think, one of the bigger wise guy horses of this year's Derby field. And we'll discuss why in a second. Chad Brown, the trainer, of course, one of the most successful trainers in the country, has been for the last decade or so, maybe a little less. Plenty of Eclipse Awards to go along with it. It's ridden by Javier Castellano, who's been aboard highly motivated for all 5 of his career races. Castellano's got Eclipse Awards, but both of them still looking for that first Derby win. Castellano has been shut out mightily in this race, which is unfortunate because he is, his record in the Derby is far from indicative of his talents as a race rider, because he is very, very good at what he does, but he is also 0 for 14 in the Derby. His best finish being a third with Audible in 2018. Chad Brown, he just doesn't have a lot of 3-year-old dirt horses. Not really his forte. He can of course handle them just fine, but it's not a priority of Chad Brown's. I'll put it that way. And he's still done just fine. Second with Good Magic in 2018 as well. And he's ran some excellent horses throughout the years as well, who have not done as good as Good Magic, but still performed at a very high level. Highly motivated. 5 career starts to this point, never worse than third. In fact, the only time he was third was in the Gotham. We'll talk about that race in a second. But first, we got to talk about that Bluegrass last time out. The best race of his career, even though it was a defeat. Tried to go wire to wire. Was able to. He really defaulted to the lead. A lot of those horses, in every horse really in the Bluegrass, very much a closer or a dropout kind of type. Even Essential Quality himself, more of a mid pack to further back stalking type. Highly motivated, was a sprinter, or I should say coming out of sprint races, not a sprinter, but coming out of sprint races to a route, 1-turn races to a route. So he was automatically going to default to the lead. Set some really slow fractions, went 48-1 for that half, and almost put a blemish on Essential Quality's unbeaten record. The 2-year-old champ from last year, he ran him the entire length of the stretch and only lost by a neck. Just kind of hopped off leads late in the race, and that seemed to just be what set him back. But they were still 5.5 lengths clear of Rombauer, who was clear of Hidden Stash. Those are 2 horses who have performed at high levels on the Derby Trail. And keep me in mind, who was multiple Grade 1 placed and a graded stakes winner at 2. And he was well clear of all of them. So highly motivated. That was a good performance. His only 2 wins were at 2. A maiden win going 6.5 at Belmont, and the win at Keeneland in the Nyquist Stakes, which was really impressive. Won that one by 4.25. But both of those were sprinting. And then in the Gotham, he lost the race at the break. He broke so poorly, and then he had to close into a slower pace, taken out of his element, kind of ran up on heels even at some points in the backstretch, just uncomfortable. Still finished okay, beaten just under 2 lengths, but it was certainly a step back. He was heavily favored in that race, and he still kind of took a step back that day. But of course, bounced back with that huge Bluegrass performance that first weekend in April. The most interesting thing about this horse, I look at all kinds of different speed figures to kind of analyze and get a good read on every horse in the Derby by Beyer standards. It was a huge number he put up there, ran a 97 that day. That puts him in the top 10 for the year among 3-year-olds and one of the highest rated in the Derby by individual performances. But another number I look at is Brisnet speed figures. And in fact, this is the only horse by Brisnet speed rating standards who has ran a triple-digit number in 3 career races. Essential Quality's done it twice. There may be 1 or 2 other horses in the field who have achieved that as well, but no horse has done it as much as highly motivated. He's ran a 102, Brisnet speed rating in his last 3 starts. That's huge. Even in defeat, I might add. Now, Brisnet numbers are not always, no speed figure, I should say, is always accurate because they are man-made, and every man, even in math formulas, has a flaw, and they're not always reflective of true ability. But that says a lot. If he's putting up numbers similar or better than some of the favorites in here, that's huge. I do know for a fact that of the horses that didn't win their final preps, this is the one that's going to take the most money. Just seeing some morning line projections, he could be as low as 8-1 on that morning line, probably I'd say float up a little bit, maybe be 10 to 12 to 1 come Derby day, but overall still fairly low for a horse that's coming off no wins this year. He'd also try to be bucking history. Only one horse, to my knowledge, and at least in very recent years, has won the Kentucky Derby without a win going 2 turns prior, and that was Funny Side in 2003. And Funny Side just kind of broke all of the history bucks there, being a gelding, a New York bred, having not won beyond a mile, having not won going 2 turns, all those things. He was certainly an anomaly that year, but Highly Motivated does have that. He's never won beyond 6.5 furlongs. That's, of course, a big concern, because even though he ran that good race in the Bluegrass, does he want to get the 1.25 miles into Mischief? Of course, he kind of quelled some of the doubters with Authentic's win in the Derby last year, but even then, he's still more of a sprinter sire, still more of a speed sire, and that Dam Side is very, very sprinty, very, very short distances coming from the influences of Highly Motivated, which is a big concern. And that turn of foot that he showed in sprint races does seem to be lacking. At least kind of lacked in that Bluegrass, as he wasn't able to really finish off all that well. In addition, he defaulted to the lead in the Bluegrass, got the easy lead. That's not going to happen in the Derby. There's multiple other speed presences. You got the likes of Caddo River, who's a need the lead type. He showed that this spring. You have Soup and Sandwich, who will try to go wire to wire in the Florida Derby. He's going to be forwardly placed. Rock Your World, he's not going to be on the lead, but he'll be right up in the firing line. Midnight Bourbon, Medina Spirit, Hot Rod Charlie. Those are a lot of horses that he's going to have to vie for, trying to get that spot. He certainly will not be the horse set, carving out the fractions at all. So how is he going to respond to that now that he's in a 2-turn race? That's another question we really have to ask. So as much of a positive as it is with those speed figures he's put forward, with the impressive wins he's had, with that really, really good second, no one has finished that close to essential quality in a race ever. But he only lost by a neck to him and galloped out huge. But at the same time, does he want to get the distance? How is he going to handle not being on the lead? Chad Brown thinks it'll be fine, but every trainer thinks their horse will be fine in any situation. So what does that really tell us? He hasn't won since last November. He hasn't won going 2 turns, so on and so forth. The pedigree, the connections, they're great, but they haven't won the Derby. They haven't had really great Derby experiences. How does this horse react to that? So as good as the positives are, the negatives are also very much present with this horse, and that's something you absolutely have to weigh when considering him. By no means am I trying to draw a conclusion on him, because I don't have a conclusion to draw on Highly Motivated yet. I probably won't even come post time, because he's a good horse, but he certainly has those things that are a little bit concerning as we head up to the Kentucky Derby. So that's all I have for you guys on this Kentucky Derby profile, and we'll see you next time here on the Racing Rundown.